In this video, I'm going to talk about my top 10 dislikes of this MG5. In the previous video, a few of you thought I was a bit gushing, I was a bit too kind to the MG5. I was factoring in a lot of the price of it and the cost of it, and for that, I think you can forgive it a few of its slight quirks or slight subpar performances, but I'll get into the top 10 anyway. So number one, for me, it's the looks. For you, it may not be the looks. You might quite like how it looks. That's fine, but for me, that's my number one. Number two that I don't like is the steering. The reason I don't like it is this vehicle has got 3 different drive modes and then 3 different regen modes, and you can put them in various combinations of how you like them. The 3 different drive modes, Eco, Normal and Sport, change the weight of the steering as well as the throttle response. And so if you go into sport mode, you get a much sharper throttle and you get weightier, heavier steering. But the problem is when I put it in eco mode, that's when I want to try and eke out a little bit more range. Eco mode also reduces some auxiliary functions like the heating, for example, and tries to minimize that so that you can maximize your range. So if I'm going on a long trip, I'm going to be on a fast road, generally speaking, like on a motorway. And if I'm on a motorway, then I've got it in eco mode and it's giving me the lightest steering, which makes the car then a little bit twitchy. And so you really have to drive it in normal or sport mode on the motorway to make the car feel planted. I don't know who made the decision on configuring the drive modes like that. Not a smart decision, if you ask me. And the kind of the auto, what a lot of vehicles have, and this definitely has to some degree, is the auto steering weighting. So the faster you go, it adds more weight to the steering, which this MG does. It just doesn't do enough of it. When you slow down, you do notice that the steering gets a bit lighter and nicer for manoeuvring, but they could go a little bit further, and that would add a lot to the sure feeling that it would get on the motorway, and you just leave it in eco mode. Number 3 for me is the sound system, the stereo, the radio, however you refer to it. In this car, it is not great. It's like most cars, to be honest. I am a bit fussy, and I'm definitely a nitpicker when it comes to car audio systems. Even some of the cars I've had with premium sound systems, I've still gone in and added some sound deadening and done a few little upgrades. I know it's sad, really, isn't it? A middle-aged man still messing around with stereos in his car. But I don't know, I'm just very sensitive to sound system, good, clear audio. And it's not about having big subwoofers and powerful bass or anything like that. I'm not really that fussed. But the clarity just isn't there. And I don't think it's really acceptable in this day and age, as now we have great technology that can make audio very cheap and accessible, very good quality audio at very good prices. I think now there shouldn't be any excuse for all vehicles having it. And a good example of that is go and sit in a Tesla with the premium sound system. It is amazing what Tesla have done. And I know they nicked a few engineers from some very well-renowned audio companies, but they've done a great job with it, and they've rolled it out in mass production to other across their lines. And there's no excuse. Anyway, number 4, it's that the screen is a little bit low. Yes, the infotainment system isn't great, but Android Auto works perfectly for me. The screen is just a little bit low. It could just do with being raised the kind of 4 inches or so. That would really help out and keep it more in your eye line. This brings me on to point 5. The whole car is just dated, really. This one was built in 2021. That's not really when this model was released, because before this model came to the UK as the MG5, it was produced in other markets as a petrol and a diesel vehicle. And so it is an older platform and an older vehicle. And that really does show through. Actually, if you get in this and compare it to a European vehicle, this is more like a 10 to 15 year old design rather than a 3-year-old design. And that shows through in just so many ways. The controls, the layout, a lot of things. Now for you, some of that may be a positive because it's got physical buttons, yes. It's got some good tactile features, and it's not too overwhelming with technology. So maybe if you're making a transition from an ICE car, an internal combustion engine vehicle, and you'll move into an electric vehicle, then this could fit the bill because it feels very familiar. It doesn't feel bang up to date, especially if you get out something like a new Ioniq 5 or a Tesla Model Y or something. Those definitely feel a lot like a generational leap ahead of something like this in terms of the cabin and the interior. Anyway, may or may not be a deal breaker for you. Item number six is very much related to the previous one. There is no app functionality with this, so you can't just see what the state of charge is. You can't go and set timers. In fact, that is item number 7, a separate item. You can't set any timers, even in the infotainment system or the dash cluster. There is no way to set any charging timers. So you have to be completely reliant on whichever home charger you have. And if you're on public charging, you'll have to wait with the vehicle so that you know what the charge status is, because you won't be able to sit in a cafe a quarter of a mile away while your vehicle's charging because you've got no app connectivity. So this brings it on to point 8, and that for me is that it doesn't have a sunroof, or panoramic roof would be even better. They just really add to the feel of making you not feel so claustrophobic. This I accept is just a C-segment car, so it's substantially smaller than our last couple of vehicles, but add in a glass roof, it really make it feel a lot more spacious, especially in the back for the rear passengers. What I do like on the other side, this should be for another video, is it doesn't have a black headliner, which is a popular trend at the moment, but it makes cars feel claustrophobic. I don't know why people keep doing it, and I don't know why we listen to so many of the motoring journalists that they love sporty handling and that results in horrible ride, but they also like black headliners. Who likes a black headliner? It just makes you feel more like, cocooned in. Maybe some people like that. I don't. Anyway, we're nearly there. The last 2 points relate to the seats. So point number 9 is that the front seats are a bit too high. I'm 5'11". You'd be fine with this car as a 6-footer. Go and try it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's something they've changed now on the facelifted generation of this. Maybe they have lowered the seat frame a little bit, because I have had a little look at the seat mounting and the seat frame, and there is definitely possibility that they could have reduced the seat height by at least an inch on this car, just from the actual internal seat mountings, not talking about the chassis of the vehicle being modified in any way. And then that brings me on to point number 10, the middle rear seat. It's a modern middle rear seat, which is to go to say it's harder than the outside seats and it's narrower than the outside seats. And that is just a trend that we've seen over the last 20 years of cars, where the rear bench seats used to be that. They used to be a bench, and so the 3 seats were equally spaced. Now vehicles are 4+1 is probably a better way of putting it, where you can comfortably sit 4 people in most vehicles, even very small ones. But as soon as you want to sit a 5th person, the middle seat is kind of forgotten about, and that's really a shame. And this one, I can kind of forgive it because it's a small C-segment vehicle. Or to some people this would be a large vehicle, others it will be small. To me, I consider this a small vehicle, just from my frame of reference. But it's an estate car, it's a practical family car. Why not just make the back seat into a proper bench and spread those seats evenly? That was one of the biggest things that I liked about the Tesla Model Y. The middle seat is a proper comfortable middle seat compared to most modern vehicles, and they've made it so that 5 fully grown adults can sit pretty comfortably in that car for some time, I'd imagine. Anyway, I hope that's been helpful to you. I'm on my little I'm on a little journey down to the Jurassic Coast today. At the moment, I am just making a pit stop down in Poole, and then I'll be heading further around to the other side of Poole Harbour and going down to the Jurassic Coast. How are we doing? So the temperature's 15 degrees. It's early in the morning. It's a bit chilly now towards the end of August. And it's been very, very windy. So far I've done 25.2 miles at 4.5 miles per kilowatt hour. And I left on the state of charge when I left was 100%. We're down to 91%. But maybe I'll add a little update on the end of this video to let you know how I got on with my efficiency on my little trip. And the car is loaded with stuff this time as well, so not as lightweight as when I was trying to do a little efficiency test. Heading the opposite way. Last time I was heading east, now I'm heading west, and I had all the nice hills, rolling hills through the New Forest as I came across here. Anyway, hopefully I'll insert some extra B-roll footage or maybe just some still photos, because you know how lazy I am in my YouTube videos, to show you some of the issues that I was talking about. And for long-time watchers, you're probably thinking, what on earth has happened? He's turned from the scruffiest YouTuber who's always wearing some cargo shorts and a scruffy t-shirt, and all of a sudden he's got a shirt and tie on. Well, keep watching. Maybe you'll find out a little bit more. First bit of the journey finished. I'm at my pit stop, 29.1 miles, 4.5 miles per kilowatt hour, and 90% remaining, showing 180 miles of range remaining. Here we are leaving camp in the MG5, and there's our fellow campers. MG5 number 2 facelift 1 2024 with the new wheels and new front end on it. Okay, we made it back from the Jurassic Coast. Bit of a slow journey, average speed down at 27 miles per hour, but we covered 46.1 miles and we averaged 5.2 miles per kilowatt hour. 61% remaining, 127 miles on the gasometer.